Welcome to another edition of Racing World. Well, we've got lots to get through today, lots, and we even talked with Chip Ganassi himself as well, so really looking forward to that. We just recorded that first thing this morning, so on to making the podcast. First thing news, we're going to just touch on NASCAR. The Xfinity Series, it was known, changes its name next year to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. O'Reilly Auto Parts is obviously an automotive store in the US that carries parts and things. So if you're unfamiliar with that, that's who they are. Name changes always take a long time to get around, but the big thing is it will no longer be called the Xfinity Series as from 2026 onwards. What do we know in IndyCar? We know quite a bit, really. We know that Will Power doesn't tell us or know anything about his future. We know that Marcus Armstrong is re-signed at MSR and will be there for another year. The driver lineup stays the same at MSR, so that's a good thing for them, and the alliance with Ganassi stays there as well. Drivers that may or may not be affected by the ripple effect. Connor Daly doesn't have a deal at Juncos Hollinger. Don't assume that Stingray Rob has a deal there. Renus VK is talking to Dale Coyne. We assume that'll come together. Second car for Dale Coyne. Who knows? And then there's a whole house of cards that will happen as a result of the Will Power thing. Malukas obviously then goes to Penske, should that happen. And then who goes to Foyt, and so on and so on. So there's a lot to play for there. Calendar-wise, we know NASCAR obviously have their calendar well and truly locked in. IndyCar haven't announced it. Maybe they will at Nashville this weekend. You'd have to think they will. But the big thing, because I did some digging into it, is the fact that the teams will race at the new Arlington Street Race in Texas, and then there's roughly a month gap before they race at Long Beach. So to me, that says that's where Mexico would fit, should Mexico happen, which you now start to think it will. And it's a lot easier for the teams to get there than the issues that NASCAR had, where they had to get back from Mexico to Pocono for the race they had the following weekend. So this would play very nicely into a calendar shape. And I'm starting to think that maybe that's what is going to happen, and we're just waiting to cross that contract. The big thing, of course, and I've read it in a few publications, is the fact that the circuit configuration still needs to be sorted, whether it's the full Grand Prix track there or the modified one that NASCAR ran on. But either way, I'm starting to think that Mexico is in the mix. As for Toronto and Iowa, we haven't heard anything on those, so we do wait for that calendar to come out and the substitute races should they be required. Chicagoland's back in with NASCAR, replacing a section of the calendar. Chicagoland was a great feature for IndyCar many years ago. Good to see that back. A lot of work to do to get that place back, but at least that's another oval track that's in the neighbourhood of IndyCar that they could resort to if they ever needed to. Anyway, that's just part of the equation. The other thing that came out in the last 48 hours is Alex Palou going to Red Bull in Formula One in 2026? There's no better person to ask than Chip Ganassi.
You know, I read that myself, and there was nobody quoted in there. And there's, I talked to Palou. Palou says he's never talked to him, and there's nothing about it. I talked to his management. They know nothing about it, and I know nothing about it. So I think it's a clickbait story, and somebody needs to brush up their investigative journalism.
Well, I think that pretty much sums it up. More from Chip a little later on when we talk to him about Dixon and other things. But there you go. As far as he's concerned, Alex stays put in 2026. And then, as he said, it's a good way of creating some clickbait. So who knows? To those of you who wrote in about various things, including travel tips for around various IndyCar events, we're going to look into that because it's something that we did a long time ago, and there's a lot of things you could do. So in the off season, I'm going to start compiling some shows for you and look at those specific events that we've been to and some tips and pros and cons for that. And maybe that'll help your fan experience out in going to an IndyCar race. And then anyone who wants to be involved in it, we're doing our Indy 500 tour again in 2026. We ran one 2 years ago with a group of 12 people. We had a smaller group this year. If you're interested in that, drop us a line in the comments and we can exchange emails and things from there. But we are bringing back our Indy 500 tour, so it's a chance to show you around the city of Indianapolis in the great race, the Indy 500, for the 110th running. Can you believe that? In 2026. Onwards then towards the Milwaukee Mile and the event there, and one of the drivers that's been in the equation on so many occasions this year, Christain Lundgarrd. As I've said, I think in the last show, what a great move from Rahals to Mclaughlin for him. We've seen Lundgarrd really raise his game a little bit. The chase for the championship, let's just look at that. Alex Palou's got it squared up. Pato O'Ward has the second position squared up. after Milwaukee, that was done and dusted. But the battle for third is very much alive with Lundgarrd, Dixon, and Kirkwood all in the equation. So for me, that's where the interest really lies at Nashville this weekend. And you'll hear again more about that when I talk with Chip. But going into this race, we did want to know from Christain just how he'd felt his year had gone and how important some of those things were in the chase for the best position he can get in the championship.
Obviously, we're behind Scott Dixon. We know he's going to be tough to catch. Even though that it's just 14 points, you can have one good weekend. I need one good weekend. He needs one bad weekend, and we're there straight away. So ultimately, for me, it's just keep knocking on the door, right? And I think we have two ovals to finish on, and I think the more we can just continue our momentum, and I think that's why Laguna and Portland has been so good for us, because we're going into the last two races now with a complete clean sheet, just wanting to get the best out of the performance and the material we have versus trying to do something special. And I think that's going to help us in terms of a mentality and just getting performance out of the car and get the results that we need.
Then onwards to people that I really like listening to. David Salter is one of those people at HRC Honda. And two questions for him really here. First of all, about how dominant this year was with the Ganassi team and, of course, with Alex Palou.
There's a collection of things, and CGR is performing at huge heights. All the boys and girls, HRC, we've stepped up to huge heights. Alex Palou, we are witnessing a generational talent. But then Kyle, another huge talent. Scott Dixon is still Scott Dixon. So we all, so it's all these things that go together, but I think it's a sum of parts and fundamentally just a huge amount of hard work.
You can certainly see the passion that those guys at HRC have, and that's not taking anything away from the Chevy guys either, but the passion for the sport, the passion for what they're doing, and the belief in what they're doing is pretty amazing. But of course, there is this underlying question that's been filtering along for the last nearly 2 years now, is what is Honda going to do in 2026? So naturally, the question had to be asked.
We've been here for 30 years, I believe, doing pretty well. And very well this year, thanks to all our men and women. So we love IndyCar, we love the racing. We don't talk about our private businesses. We love IndyCar, we love what we're doing, but we don't discuss, we look at where we're going for the future. That's a Honda thing, that's who we deal with things. So we don't really discuss our private businesses in public, to be honest with you.
I think in this day and age, that's a very professional approach, and hopefully we get the chance to catch up with David Salters when we're in Atlanta for the INSMA event in October for part of the Kiwis Born to Fly 3 documentary series. So it'd be good if we do get to talk one-on-one with him, not necessarily about any of those topics, but just to understand the thinking that Honda have and the amazing things that they do. And Steve Goff, one of our Kiwis Born to Fly, is part of that HRC team, and he will feature in Kiwis Born to Fly 3. So really, really looking forward to that. Anyway, back to Milwaukee. The other thing on the cards, of course, was qualifying. Now, this was an all-out effort. There was absolutely no doubt about that. And the man that really set the world on fire, which of course is doing anyway at the moment, was David Malukas. Looked like he was going to claim that pole position, the first ever in a long time since AJ Foyt have had a car up there, since Ferrucci did it actually last year in Portland. But for Malukas, this is just adding fuel to the fire right now. And it looked like that pole position was going to be his until he got pit by Alex Palou.
2 beautiful laps. I mean, I crossed that line. I wasn't even looking at the time, and I knew it was fast. I was like, man, it's like sometimes you just know when it's going to be good. And I crossed. I was like, oh, that was really beautiful. I really think that was going to be the one. And just had to wait till the end, right? And it went up until the end. And I saw him come out of 4, and I was like, oh no. I was like, put the ghost thing in there. I was like, I think he's got it on this one. And I saw the ghost. I was like, yeah, yes. So, I mean, look, it's still good. Going to be on the front row here again at Milwaukee. So we have a good race car. We'll see what we can do.
You get the sense that there's more to come from Malukas, coming back from that wrist injury, the dramas at McLaren, finding a home at AJ Foyt's, the alliance with Penske, the on-again, off-again conversation about where he's going to be. He's coping with it pretty well. And that's all the hallmarks of, talent for the future. And like so many drivers, like a Marcus Armstrong or anyone, as soon as they get that top step of the podium, that can quite often unleash many, many more things to come. Anyway, the man that took pole position, of course, the man that's dominated the entire season, Alex Palou.
Probably not. I won it, and I felt really good after practice. But there's been so many times that after practice, I feel like we found something, or that I have confidence, and then it's just because you had a clean lap or whatever. So I knew my lap this morning was on a completely clear lap, so I was like, I don't know if I have much more speed than that. We make a couple of small changes to try and get a little bit faster, and worked out.
Well, the scene was set for the race. There was a few cars, including Kiwi Scott Dixon, that faced 9-place grid drops, so it altered the grid after qualifying quite a bit. But this was a short track oval, short track racing at its best, and the big thing here is staying on the lead lap. As soon as you go down off that lead lap, you're in a bit of trouble. So to the race itself, one race this year at Milwaukee. There was 2 last year. I think the one race scenario is a far better option. Great crowd, and this is the second race in the Wisconsin area, so it's great to see the crowd getting behind these events. And if Penske Entertainment and Fox now ever need proof of the fact that this audience is there, this was a great example of it. The race itself was a down and dirty short track race like you kind of always expect. A bit of wheel banging, a bit of stuff going on, few cars off early on, Nolan Siegel out in the first couple of laps, bit of argy-bargy, and then there was the twist factor in the race, and that was the yellow for sprinkles. Bit of drizzle in the air, brought the yellow out, changed some things, and this is where people rolled the dice. And one of those people was Christain Rasmussen, who was actually a long way back in the field, had a drive-through penalty earlier in the race for speeding in the pit lane, and then suddenly the whole thing changed after that. He came in, pitted for new tyres, the likes of Palou and Mclaughlin that looked like they were going to go on and do a 1-2 in this race, became slightly different factors in the equation because they stayed out and stayed on that old rubber. And that's the way it works sometimes. And I think Scott McLaughlin sums it up the best you can right here.
I don't want to give up track position. I don't want to. It's like the classic sort of NASCAR one as well. Like you have the bottom 8, or the everyone 8th back pit, and they've got new tires. I mean, like it's a tough decision for anyone to give up that track position. You sort of back your raw car pace, and ultimately that's what we both did with for me, it was a net loss of 1, and same as Alex. I mean, it's just how the cards fell. I mean, we both probably finished first and second today, but it's the gods. It's the IndyCar gods. So
a pretty professional approach when you hear drivers like Mclaughlin and Palou did also saying that's just the way it works. Sometimes it's the luck of the yellow. In this case, it was. And at the point in the race it was, you had to roll the dice one way or the other. And not everyone can come out of their equation looking like a hero every single time. But it was great to see Rasmussen take his first win. There's obviously a lot of controversy around him since the Portland race with the incident with Connor Daly. It hasn't really been much reaction from the Daly camp after Rasmussen getting a win. It's just going to kind of add a little bit of private fuel to the fire, I'm sure, there. But that's just, again, that's part of the things. Rasmussen was aggressive. There's absolutely no doubt about it at Milwaukee, but he drove the high line. He was committed up the high line. He hung on tight. He banged wheels with Palou a few times, but he took the win. More importantly for Ed Carpenter, it's a reassurance of what they've done with the restructuring of the team this year, the rebranding to ECR, bringing people like Java House and stuff on board. That's just a great thing. Ed's been a bit of a talent spotter, a bit like Dale Coyne in recent years, brought along a young Joseph Newgarden early on, Renus VK, and now Rasmussen, teamed up with Rossi, which I think is quite a strong combination. You've got the maturity of Rossi in there, who's still hungry for race wins and championships, and new blood in there as well. But for Ed, I think it was a great day.
We haven't been as consistent as we want to be at times. A lot of weekends, Christian will have a good day, Alex will have a bad day, or vice versa. So today especially, and really this weekend, was the best group effort we've had all year. And like Christian mentioned, it was a little bit of a rough start for him in practice 1, but the plan for the whole team kind of came together as the weekend went on. So to me, it was a really big group effort with kind of how we unloaded relative to where we were last year and what we wanted to try coming here, and it really worked out well. So you've you got to keep pushing. You know, I think the championship was over with Alex the previous race, but for us there was still a lot left to prove. And today's great, but we still have one left to go. So we hope to do this again.
Great moment there for Ed and everyone at ECR. Great moment also for Chevy. They haven't actually had that many victories this year because Palou's done the majority of the winning, and then also Kirkwood and Dixon scored some wins for Honda as well. So for Chevy, that was a great race result for them as well. Do we see this as a form guide from ECR going into the final race of the season at Nashville this weekend? No, we don't. The reason I say that is they're two fundamentally quite different types of tracks. We had a virtually semi-traditional asphalt track at Milwaukee, and at Nashville, you're going to have a bank track again with a reasonable amount of banking on it and a concrete surface. So quite different. What I do know is that a certain Scott Dixon tested there about a week and a half ago. It was a part of an allocated test, but quite strategic really at this time of the season. So Dixon's done some mileage around there recently. You can guarantee they're trying to hang on to that third place in the championship. And both Lundgarrd and again Kirkwood trying to get up there and take that off him. But, you know, you can't take anything away from a first-time winner, and that was Christain Rasmussen.
Just kept doing my thing. Then I didn't really know how it was going to go whenever I got up to him, because the tire deck was obviously huge here this weekend. I knew that I did have a tire advantage on him, but that kind of, once the peak of your tire goes off, that kind of gets you down into a level where it can be very tough to overtake still. So I didn't know how it was going to go, but I knew that I was going to go for it, and I'm going to go try to get my first win, and we did. Well, a little bit of a fight, but got it done to turn one door.
As I said, nothing beats a race win, and for Ed Carpenter and his team and everyone at ECR, that's a great victory. That really is a great victory. Can they do it back-to-back again this weekend? I don't know. I think based on the form guide we saw there last year, you would put Kirkwood and Herter as good odds-on bets to go into this race. Palou drove a different type of race at Nashville last year because all he had to do was finish that race. Once Will Power had the issues with the seatbelts and effectively became out of contention of the race and the championship, all Palou had to do was finish the race. So the mindset was quite a lot different. Now Alex is a bit more hungry. He's got a record to set if he can get it. Dixon needs to stay third in the championship. So there's a lot to play for this weekend. It will be very, very interesting. I hope that weather doesn't come into play. It did a little bit last year, and they ran the Highline practice quite late at night, which had no relevance whatsoever to the race, which was an afternoon race. But, you know, fingers crossed it goes well. It's kind of still sad to me that it's the last race of the season, but it'll be a great race, I'm sure. And as I said, everyone loves a winner. There's not one person that I know of more that loves a winner than Chip Ganassi. And we got the chance to chat to him this morning, looking towards this weekend particularly. But to talk with Chip is always a great privilege. And boy, he just opened up. And it was just really great to be able to talk to Chip Ganassi.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thanks so much for your time today. Just looking at things, and I've talked with you personally, I've talked with Mike Hull personally over the last 20 odd years. The theme has always been at Ganassi, one team, one focus, one team. Looking at this year particularly, and then looking at the years leading to this year, how important has the Dixon factor been in helping Alex achieve some of what he's actually achieved? Because I know that Dixon is a team player, you know that.
Yeah.
Is it rolled off on Alex?
No question that you know Scott's helped Palou's career. No question. They sit in the same room. They talk about the same setups. They, you know, obviously I don't think they drive exactly the same car, but they're you know, I can tell you that Alex will be the first to tell you that he learned a lot from Scott Dixon and vice versa. And yeah, I mean that's great. Makes great teammates. Yeah.
Looking at that also, then going into this final race of the season at Nashville, how significant is it to try and keep Dixon as high up in that championship status as you can, but not necessarily give Alex, you know, miss on the chance of getting that extra win as well?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know. I can tell you this, Dave. You know, I can tell you this. Palou's going to be there to win the race. Dixon's going to be there to win the race. And if it comes down to the end of the race, I can tell you that I'm not going to play God and tell which one to go where. Okay, and I think that's very dangerous to do. I just tell them rule number 1 is don't hit each other, and rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. And yeah, we'd like to keep Dixon as high up in the points as we can, and we'd also like to see Palou, get a record of some sort. That'd be a nice feather in our cap. But we're just here to win the race with whoever wins it, and Kiffin can win it as well.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a great season. It's been great being around you at a few of the events we've been to, and all the best for the off season ahead, which seems like a long time till we get back to St. Pete. But congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. You've heard from the man himself, and they've still got things to prove this weekend. He didn't really give any clues away as to whether or not Alex would ride shotgun for Dixon to make sure Dixon ends up with that third place in the championship. In fact, you got the complete opposite. It's game on. Both of them are hungry for a race win. Alex has got a point to prove. Obviously, Dixie has as well. So wish them all the very best for this weekend. It'll be a great way to round that championship year out. But you can't count out Lundgarrd and you can't count out Kirkwood for that race for third position in the NTT INDYCAR Championship, with first and second already been locked in by Palou and O'Ward. And a great year for Mclaughlin as well. It's been a great year. 17 races almost gone in the blink of an eye. Very hard to think. It seems a very, very long time to St. Pete, but it'll come around pretty quick. A few off-season tests, some of these drivers racing at the Petit Le Mans and Atlanta in October, which we will be at, and we'll do a Racing World reports from there, as well as shooting for the documentary Kiwis Born to Fly 3, which will be out in New Zealand in the early part of 2026. And we hope to actually launch Kiwis Born to Fly 2 on YouTube soon, so look out for that as well. We'll announce that via the show. For those of you that continually write in, I really, really appreciate it. There's some great relationships building there. Appreciate your comments and things that you're saying about the podcast and all of that sort of stuff. As I've said, we're going to look at travel things and travel tips for going to different events. So, I think that's one of the things that you guys are asking about, and it's one thing that we can certainly fill you in on. It's a great thing to go and do and experience these events, and they are all quite different, and the geographical locations of where they take place are different as well, as are hotels and all of those other things. So that's certainly something that we'll delve into in an off-season podcast. And as I said, we're looking at putting together the 2026 Indy 500 tour. So if you want to know more about that, flick us a message in the comment section and we can go from there on that one. But until we get to talk again next week after Nashville, just enjoy the show. Hope you liked it. Great, as I said, to be able to talk to Chip, and we'll see you again next week on Racing World.